I'm Katie Wells, host of the Maximized Minimalist podcast. I escaped the hamster wheel of modern-day motherhood, overwhelmed by clutter and buried under the mental load. Now I live in a home that feels calm, manageable, and made for real life. I have margin in my days, energy for who matters most, and time for slow mornings and silly dance parties in the kitchen with my family. With over 5 million listens, the show has helped women around the world turn their homes into their happy place. Around here, we simplify for more peace, more presence, and more joy. We choose grace over guilt and progress over perfection. And we believe your home should give back more than it takes. I'm here to help you do the same. Come along with me and my guests as we share the real stories, habits, and strategies that help you lighten the load from the inside out. Pull up a seat, friend, and let's do this together. Ready, set, simplify. We got a special guest for you today, Maximized Minimalist listeners. We got Laila Ali back on the show. It has been, I think 2021 since we hung out last.
Really? It's been that long?
It's been that. I will tell you, I have a lot more gray hair since I saw you last.
I love it.
I don't even know if I had one gray hair when I saw you last. I've aged rapidly. But anyway, it's so nice to see you again.
Nice to see you also.
You have teenagers now.
I do. I have 14.
How did that happen?
14 and 17. And any parent will tell you that it goes by so quickly, right? We all know that it's just like you blink your eyes and my son is driving, my daughter's in high school. So yeah, new phase.
Good for you. Well, I know who to reach out to when those questions start coming up. Like, Laila, how do I handle this? We'll have you back for part 3. Well, even more excited to have you on because I've been really fangirling because I've been really into your new show, Chef Grudge Match. And I've got to say, like, reality TV, I don't know if it would qualify as that, but like my guilty pleasure is Real Housewives. And I'm telling you, they're getting pretty scripted. So this show just feels so fresh compared to a lot of the stuff out there. And one of the episodes if you want to briefly describe the show for my listeners, because I just think it's so unique. Like I felt the tension between the chefs and I was like, oh, dang, like who's going to win? So it's just so fun. And you do a great job hosting.
Thank you. Well, the show comes on the Food Network and it's currently coming on Tuesdays at 9:00, 8 Central PM. And it comes on every week. And it's so fun because it's called Chef Grudge Match. So there's chefs that have grudges. It could be a situation where one of the chefs was a sous chef for the other and, they ended up parting ways. And then the sous chef starts their own restaurant and the other chef feels like they stole their recipes, that kind of a thing. So it's kind of like we're coming together to see who is actually the better chef, and then they're going to, bury the grudge after, whoever gets the win, and they get $10,000. They get the other's most coveted chef knife, which is a big deal for chefs.
Yes.
So it's a lot of fun to watch because, of course, I'm there hosting to get the story, find out what the situation is, and offer them the opportunity to duke it out in my kitchen. And there's 2 resident judges. Jet Tila is our judge who's always there. And then he invites another judge, which is usually someone you've probably seen before on the Food Network. And then they decide who the winner is going to be. And we got 2 battles each show. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was actually the one that came forefront to my mind was the sous chef who left. And I was like, oh, dang, what's going to happen? I was so invested from like the first minute. So as I'm watching you on this show, I'm like, you know what? This woman is so incredible at evolving and stepping into these different opportunities. And it kept coming up like it takes real courage to do that. And that kind of courage, I think, isn't just for people like reinventing careers or people in public roles. I think evolution shows up as opportunities in all of our lives. Sometimes it can look really huge, like stepping into a new chapter, a new job. Other times, I think more often than not, it's these smaller things like, hey, I want to learn how to garden or I want to pick up an instrument, stuff like that. All of it takes courage. So I want to start there. Like you've evolved in such big ways in your lifetime so far through boxing, through business, motherhood. Can you take us back to like any particular moment that sticks out to you where your like courage played a role in making you say yes or making that shift when it might have been easier for you to say no and just stay where you are?
Oh man, it's been so many times in my personal life, my professional life. I remember just being in a marriage that took courage to get out of. I remember beginning to box when I knew that it would be tough and everybody would be against it. And my own father told me not to do it. And it needed to take courage. Transitioning into my career outside of boxing took courage. I remember when Dancing with the Stars called and I was like, no way. I'm not doing that. And then I had to think about it and think about how it could help me, right, in my goals that I had, with my second career. And then I mustered up the courage to go do it because it was tough. It was scary, doing live dancing in front of a studio audience and the world, especially being that I was so used to being in 100% control, not having to rely on someone to teach me, not having a partner. So that was very tough as well. And I think that, all of the time, it's like I have to I have to see the end, right? I have to see my vision for the end. And that's what makes me go for it. When I was in a marriage that I knew wasn't a good marriage for a long time, but I thought, I won't be able to box without him, or I won't be able to do X, Y, and Z. I was so young, starting over, being a failure, all of these things that you deal with. And for me being so young and, entering into boxing, when my father told me no, and he was like my whole support system, I felt like by leaving him, I was also going to be leaving my career. But I had to just step out on faith and then imagine what my life would be like without him, the marriage per se, how much happier I would be. And then I kind of just had to just take a risk when it came to boxing. I can do this. All these other women have been able to do it. I'll be able to do it also. When I say able to do it, I mean in terms of navigating their career, navigating the business of boxing without a husband, that was just one thing. So I could go on and on and on. But at the end of the day, I would say the answer to that is just really finding that thing, that reason, to really go towards. That light at the end of the tunnel is what gave me the courage to go do it.
So seeing the benefit of, hey, you know what? And what I loved is your initial reaction to her Dancing with the Stars, for instance, was like, oh, heck no. Like, no. And then you're like, hold on, pause. Let's give this room to breathe. Let's kind of simmer on this. And then you thought, well, what are my goals? Right. And so then you started to look at bigger picture down the road. What could that look like? And so how do you practice like discernment? I'm assuming as an outside person looking in that you have opportunities coming your way every day. I could be wrong, right? But you're a public figure. People are like, hey, try this, do this, do this. Like, how do you discern? And maybe the answer is your goals and having clarity on what you desire. Like when there's so many opportunities that hit you left and right.
I think, well, you're right. There are a lot of opportunities, probably not every single day, but numerous opportunities, numerous decisions to make. Small ones, big ones, short term, long term. Sometimes there's things that you don't want to do that you do anyway for certain reasons. So for me, it really came down to, and I've had to do this from the beginning. Obviously, I've refined it over time. But what I'm about to say is what I had to do from the beginning was really figure out what my boundaries were, what my purpose was, what my vision for myself was, because I was Muhammad Ali's daughter, living pretty much in his shadow in terms of in my boxing career coming, I was never going to get away from that. So I had to know that going in, and I had to say to myself, like, are you going to try to be like your dad? Are you going to allow other people to try to make you like your dad? Are you going to compare yourself to your father? So no, and I'm glad I did have the discernment at a very young age to set those boundaries for myself. And a lot of it just came out of honesty. And then of course, just being a strong person in general, I've always been pretty confident. And that doesn't mean that I didn't have fear. That doesn't mean that there hasn't been times when I had self-doubt. But in general, I've always been a pretty strong person. So early on, I was like, look, I'm not Muhammad Ali, I'm Laila Ali. To me, that was just a fact. But you have to tell the press that when they're asking you certain questions, because it's like, are you going to rope a dope? Are you going to call out rounds? Are you going to do all these things my dad did? And it's like, my dad did amazing things. He was great. But guess what? I'm not Muhammad Ali, I'm Laila Ali. And a lot of that came from the fact that I didn't think I could call out rounds anyway. I didn't have any interest in doing the rope a dope. Like that's what my dad did. So that's the thing, is really having to get comfortable with who I was, what my personal goals were, setting. And then I said, I refined this over time. And it's because as I became more of a public person in my own right, and had more opportunities and have gone on to do many other things outside of the boxing ring that my father never had interested in doing, but I've been successful in different areas, right? And then you start getting different kinds of offers. But what I've always had is kind of my mission, my vision, and then everything has to align with that, right? There's a lot of brands out there that they might be great brands, but they don't align with my brand. So it doesn't make any sense for me to partner with them, or certain people. There may be people that I like, and that's happened before where, they're like, oh, you want to do X, Y, and Z together. And I'm kind of like, I like you, I like what you're doing, but I don't like us together. That's not really my thing. And some people get offended by that. And guess what? I'm sorry. I have to stay true to myself. I can't worry about other people's feelings. I feel like you can do everything, say everything, but it's all about how you go about doing it.
So you mentioned you're confident and you still had fear. And I think even fear trips me up. Like I've been thinking about like, oh, I want to learn how to play the guitar. And then it's like, you're probably not going to do it. You don't have time. And that's an objection more than fear. But then it's like, well, what if I do fail at it? What if I tell everyone, hey, I'm going to learn how to play the guitar, and then I don't follow through? So it's something so small, but I think it stops us from even taking the first step. Now you're talking about like big things like, the boxing and all these different things. I can imagine the fear was huge. Do you have any, like, has it happened even with like a hobby for you? Like, and how do you move past that? I know you said that built-in confidence certainly helps push you forward, but I think all of us, like, we need to get better at quieting that fear, acknowledging it, quieting it, and still saying like, I'm moving forward.
Yeah.
So how do you do that once you find out like this is aligned with me, this does help me reach my goals and everything?
And I think we all have a different idea of what fear is, right? And we all have it in some form or the other. But for me, it's anything that holds me back from doing something that I want to do. And a lot of, and it comes from a thought or a feeling that you have. And I think that, I know that there's not a human being on this earth that hasn't felt that, right? It's those of us who push past, and that's a defense mechanism for our body. It's good to sometimes have fear about certain things when it's going to keep you safe, right? And touching the fire and all these things when we were kids, you're going to get burned, right? But when it comes to things that are going to pour into your heart and make you happy or, add to your life, then you definitely don't want to let fear hold you back. And for me, when it's something that's really important for me to do, and I might feel, like I have my reasons for not going for it, then I kind of have to check myself. Well, why don't you want to do this? And why should you do this? And then I kind of, I'm an athlete and I'm a competitor. So I'll just kind of like, come on, girl. I have like a self-coach in my head. Like, come on, you got to do this. You have to do it. Just do it. Like I tell my friends that all the time. Just go for it. Like if you fail, big deal. But sometimes it could be something, like you said, small, that something as simple as like, I want to start yoga. I've said that before. I'm like, I want to do yoga. I think it would be so beneficial for me. Just at this age, I'm 47 now, you start getting a little achy, get sore here and there. And I know that I need to just, stretch, and how beneficial that is. I've heard it from so many other people. I've seen the impact that it has, but it's so boring to me. It's so boring. And I'm like, I like fast, fluid movement. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, oh my God. So,
you're falling asleep on the yoga mat. You're like, come on, people.
So yeah, I can say, well, that's the reason I won't do it. But also I have a fear that if I start it, I'm not going to stick to it. Right. It's like when I invest in something and I say I'm going to do something, especially something like a workout, because that's my thing. I would feel like a failure. Like, man, I started to do something and I didn't do it simply because it was boring, even though I know the benefits it's going to have long term. And one thing I always say about me is I don't want to have regrets, right? I don't ever want to be that person that didn't do something. So if I'm not going to do yoga simply because it's boring, and then I'm going to turn around and regret that I didn't do it 10 years from now because I knew exactly what I needed to do and I didn't do it for myself, then that's like a double whammy. You know what I mean? So all that kind of wraps up into just kind of fear, because like I feel like if I go and I know it's working and it's great, and then I stop going, then it's going to really be on me. So I don't know. Like I said, there's levels to it, right? There's levels to it.
So you've developed, it sounds like a lot of the self-talk developed through like the competition and the natural athlete that you are. So I can kind of hear like get an insight to how that can help push you forward, even though the fear or whatever that little, issue is that's keeping you from making that decision.
Nobody has ever been successful in life without pushing past fear. No one has ever been successful without taking risks. If you're someone who's highly ambitious and, after success, you have got to get that. It's like, yeah, fear is that thing that pushes you forward, and then I think about how amazing I'm going to feel once I actually try and once I actually do my best. It's the same thing I tell my children. I'm like, look, just do your best. That's all I want. I try to take that pressure off of them. Just do your best. Now, if you didn't do your best, then you might be feeling some kind of way. You know what I mean? But if you did your best, that's all I want from you. I don't need you to get an A. I just need you to do your best. That's it.
So you mentioned in past interviews, I've heard how important it is for you to pare down, distractions and focus on what really matters. And so what does simplifying your life look like these days? Not just physically. I know last time we talked about, decluttering and organizing, but also like emotionally and mentally. What does that look like for you right now in your current season?
Oh man, that's like an ongoing thing, as you know. It's like you declutter and then here comes some more. And I'm talking about physical, emotional, whatever, and that's a challenge in my life. I probably said that on our last interview. I don't quite remember, but it's just honest. I have a lot on my plate, like a lot of us do, some of us more than others, and we have a different capacity of what we can handle. I have a lot on my plate. I have my family at home, extended family, friends, everyone's always pulling on you because when you are successful, there's always somebody who needs something from you, whether it be a referral or a connection or money or whatever the case may be. So even though I have boundaries in place and I know how to handle all those things because I've been dealing with them all my life, it's still a stress. It's still a stress on you. It still causes a little bit of anxiety. Then I have the teenagers that I mentioned, that alone. So for me, what I try to do is I try to quiet my mind because no matter what's going on, I still have all these things that I come up with in my head that I want to do. You know what I mean? I mean, whether it be for my business and, I need to make a new product image for this product. And, I need to text this person and request this and do, all these different things. So for me, it's really about, I'll tell you what helps me a lot. I have this app called Todoist. And it basically, yes, Todoist, basically an organized to-do list. And you can have shared to-do lists with different people. So I can have one for the household or with my kids or business or whatever. And then there's just a whole dump where it's just like, you can dump everything there, your whole list. So that helps me a lot for someone who's constantly feels like they've got a lot going on and there's so much to remember. I can put things on my list and then I can go down and I can just check the list. So that's something that is really helpful for me. And I like that I can always just go back and look at my to-do list from last year, right? And just see what all I had to do, what all I had to accomplish, and then further refine things. But yeah, taking some things off of my list, just so that it doesn't stress me out like, oh God, I have to do all these things. But also, it also helps just to write them down so I can get them off my mind and then come back to it when I need to. One of the things I did, since you said we talked in 2021 last, is I cleaned out my closet, or at least I enlisted help to do it. I'm not going to say I did it myself because I was just too stressed about that. For some reason, it's so simple for certain people to clean out their closet. Whereas me, I just shuffle stuff around. So yeah, I can get to a certain point, but then I don't finish. So for me, it was like, okay, I know, what things I don't like, but I needed someone to help me get rid of things, make decisions, and then help me organize. Then once it's organized, I can keep it in place, right?
Yes. I remember you saying that. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think the hardest part for me was letting certain things go, not because I love them, but because I feel like I'm being wasteful. I bought this $500 dress and I only wore it once for this event. And I'm like, it doesn't make any sense to get rid of it. It costs $500. But then if you tell me, Layla, you can donate this to women who need these clothes for a job, I'm like, great. You know what I mean? So it's the meaning behind the clothes so much, not so much the clothes. So they're just sitting there. Yeah. So I think of ways like, how can I get rid of this to help someone else? So for me, it was really mental, right? And I was like, oh, take it, bye. And we literally got rid of like a third. And I feel so good because I didn't wear that stuff. Like, this is me every day. I got on jeans and a sweater and you know what I mean? Like, I'm not into all that, but I did not have a system in place.
That's right.
To get rid of things after I wore them or that, I knew I wasn't going to wear again. So that's the thing. Now I have a system. We have In the garage, I have like a donation bucket because I'm trying to teach my kids as well because they
Good for
outgrow things.
you.
Yeah,
Yes.
because they get on my nerves. Like, you buy kids, my husband, should I say, because they shop with me, we're going to get the sales. I'm like, look, we're not paying $60 for a pair of, or a t-shirt, like, so they go get dad. But I'm like, let's shop the sales. They say I'm cheap. I'm nowhere near cheap, but they'll go buy a pair of pants, wear them once and outgrow them. And I'm like, someone can use these. So now we have a bucket that everything goes in so that we can have the giveaways on rotation and taken without having to sit there for 2 years before they actually make it to where they need
Amen.
to be. So.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So many good systems. Okay. So Todoist, never heard of that. So making a mental note. I am very similar to you that I have so many thoughts that pop up throughout the day, and I can be cooking, I can be driving, and I'm like, ooh, I got to remember this. And then I forget it 30 seconds later. So I would be someone who really benefits. And it's just like the mental clutter stacks up. And yeah, before you know it, you're like, what? So that sounds like such a great system. Your donation station, you got that in place. And I hear you. My kids are outgrowing things in like 2 weeks sometimes. I'm not paying $60 for
It's
that.
crazy.
So so I'm curious because so many people who would define themselves as, ambitious, or I'm a go-getter, or I have, all these goals, I notice also tend to struggle with resting and doing things for fun because they have all these things they're working toward achieving. Has that ever been a struggle for you in your evolution?
Absolutely. I don't even realize sometimes when I'm not resting, that's the thing is that we enjoy what we do, so you feel like you're having fun.
That's
Right.
true.
And so it's like my husband says it to me all the time. My husband played in the NFL. He's retired. He's not really doing anything else in terms of, career. He's like, I worked hard in the NFL, made my money. I'm good. I'm chilling. I'm playing golf. And he's like, you just go, 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 go. And I'm like, I'm different than you are. This is what makes me happy. You know what I mean? I don't want to sit around and watch TV sometimes, with you, but you have to still.
All right, what does he watch? What is the show you guys watch?
I'll tell you what we watch together, and it's old, but I wouldn't have known it because I just started watching TV maybe like 2 years ago. But Suits, which is on Netflix,
I've heard it's really good.
I love that show. We both love that show. In fact, we've like rewatched the season, but it's a show we can both get into. But I just don't. I naturally, like, even after dinner, after I cook and after I'm, done, we're cleaning up the kitchen and everybody's chilling, I'll like come back into my office where I am now and be like, oh, I got to finish up something I didn't finish today, because when it's time to go get the kids and when they get home, it's like I'm starting to shut down around 3:30, but I really need until like 6. But by that time I have to cook and all that. So I come back and he's like, what are you doing? You're supposed to be done, and I'm like, when you have your own business, that's not the way it works. Yeah. But it's still no excuse, I should say, that I have to at least try to shut it down at a certain time instead of just having, it's like kids not having a bedtime, right? They're going to just kind of go to bed when they feel like it. So I try to give myself a shut off time. And when I do have things I need to finish, I'll let him and them know in advance, look, guys, I have something I need to do. I need to go in my office for an hour, and get this done. So they know the expectation, because it's really important for me to be present in my marriage, be present with my children, because you think about how much time our kids spend at school. If your kids go to school, I was homeschooling my kids for a while. They're at school now, all the hours out of the day, and they're just getting older. And I'm like, wow, my son is going to be moving out. And I don't want to have that regret. Like, I didn't spend the time with him when he's no longer here. Right. And no more, he doesn't want to go on summer trips with the family anymore, because he has a girlfriend or he wants to do other things. So that time is coming for me soon. So unless you actually do something to make sure that you don't let time slip away because of all the thoughts in our head and because of our to-do list, the days are just going by and it's like, man, it's already almost Halloween. And so I feel like the year just began, and we're I'm thinking about my Christmas decorations and all of that. I mean, I'm not about to take them out, but you know what I'm saying? Like the people are calling, like, you're going to get lights on your house this year. I'm like, man, we're already so far into this year. It just goes by faster the older we get.
So for the woman who's listening, who's like, oh, I got to do this system. I need the donation station. I need the Todoist. I'm loving how Laila is just sharing her story and her journey and how, you can still move forward and try new things, whether it's a career change or a hobby or what have you. But they're still just battling that fear. And it could be that fear of failure or what will people think of me, which I can imagine for you, on so many occasions, especially in the boxing world, because people were telling you what they were thinking of you. You weren't even having to question it, in your interviews and everything. I'm sure that was really hard to deal with. So how would you encourage the woman listening today who's just maybe not so sure, but like wants to do it, but needs that extra push?
I still deal with people talking about what they think of me, and it's just it's something that's always going to be there. One thing I always want to do is be proud of myself, be proud of my choices, be proud of how I carried myself, be proud of how I treated others, how I made decisions with good intentions. Those are the things that I can control. And I can control how I show up. I can control whether I'm going to let fear hold me back or whether I'm going to have courage. I think that, again, it really comes down to knowing where you want to go, understanding what it's going to take to get there. Once you identify that, whether it's in your profession, in your personal life, in your marriage, whatever it is, whatever relationship it is, where you want to get, what needs to be done, and then just owning it and going for it. There's always going to be fear. You just have to just push past it and do it in small baby steps. It's hard when you tell someone. I have a sister, for example, who's always been in the hotel business and corporate, and she just wants to start working for herself. She's tired of working for people. She's tired of, being laid off and, having to work in a cubicle next to all these different people. And she's just older now. She's my older sister. And she's just like, I don't want to do this anymore. So she's been trying to figure out what that next phase of her life is going to be for her. And she started working on it. So she's not like, oh, I'm just going to quit my job, but put some time and effort towards that thing, or figuring out what that thing is so that you can invest in yourself, right? So that you can, because that's not a good feeling when you're stuck or you feel stuck doing something that you don't really want to do. You know what I mean? And you become like a slave to the system in your head, and that just isn't healthy, right? But you would never expect someone to just say, oh, just quit your job and just, who's going to pay the bills, right? That's just not realistic. So there's a way to go about it, but just moving in that direction, not just sitting still, being stagnant, because nothing's going to get done that way.
We talk so much about baby steps on the show and in my community, and I fully believe that. And again, it tends to be, it's hard for people because they want the immediate after photo. They want the immediate results. And I get it. It's kind of what our culture is obsessed with. Like, oh, you can get this fast. And then when it doesn't happen to us, we go, well, what's wrong with me? Why can't I do this? So I really love what you had to share there. I think that's so important for all of us to hear.
Yeah, most people, it doesn't happen that fast for. It's easy after the fact to clip it all together and make it look like it was easy, especially when you're trying to sell something to other people, right? And that's a lot of times what people are seeing now on social media. They're seeing all this stuff that isn't real. People just showing you the best parts of themselves with all the filters and all those things. So if you know that's affecting you in a negative way, the best thing to do is unfollow certain accounts. If you just have to be on social media, a lot of people are just addicted to it. Start following things that are going to serve you, that are not going to take away. Because if you feel bad when you walk away, feel less than, feel envious, then that's not what you want. You want things that are going to uplift and inspire you. And then the algorithm will continue to send you that same type of content. And it's the same thing with the universe. The universe continues to send you certain energy, that you're putting out. And that's really real. So that's something that it's not easy to do. Sometimes I get stuck in it, especially if somebody sends me something silly and then I open it and the next thing I know, I'm getting a bunch of other silly stuff. I'm like, oh man,
You're like telling your friend, you're messing up my algorithm.
Yeah,
dude.
It's too much. Yeah, I don't have time to be going through all this. So yeah, it's a lot.
Well, I know you mentioned faith earlier, and I wanted to share, I fully agree that I tend to rely on my faith for helping nudge me forward and just get more comfortable with discernment. Is this right for me? Is this the right season? What could this look like, practically speaking? Does this align with my values? And one thing I heard in a sermon years ago that stuck with me for a long time. It was one of those things I listened to and I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And it was, God doesn't call the equipped, he equips the called. And then maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I heard this voice in my head say, put it in your book. I was thinking about something related to work and I was like, oh, nope. What? I looked around. I'm like, is someone in here? No. And I'm like, I got 2 kids, I'm changing diapers. This is not the season. And I don't even know how to write a book. Don't know the first thing, and then fast forward years later, just finished my first book, Laila.
Oh,
I'm telling you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I felt I was equipped the entire time. And yes, it took me I mean, I didn't pursue it. The opportunity came to me when it was meant to come for me, and I had to go, is now the right time? And, but he totally equipped me with everything I needed to make it happen. And I just wanted to share that with you because it's such, I think, it's something where the world is how the world is today. Like, we need to be so deeply anchored to, for me, it's my faith, spirituality, whatever one might believe in. I think it's so important.
It is important because you cannot listen to that voice inside of you when you have all this clutter, right? Whether it's negative vibes, negative people, negative thoughts, all of that, negative actions, right? Mm-hmm. And nothing good is going to come to you if, you're not surrounded with good. That's just how it is at the end of the day. And I think that if you know this, like if you don't have that faith, like I said, and you're not making that connection, then I feel like a lot of times people don't believe that they deserve it anyway. And they're not going to get anything good come to them if they don't feel they deserve it. So that's why I say it's really important to have good intentions, be a good person, treat other people with kindness, surround yourself with positive people. I don't care if someone's been listening to your podcast or listening to you or following you for a year and still feels like they haven't been able to get over the hump. You just have to keep going. You have to keep surrounding yourself with positive energy because some of that is going to rub off on you. I'm telling you, like when you start to listen to how to do it and listen to people who are going about things the right way and or who are trying to uplift you and pour light into you, then it's going to rub off on you. And the opposite is the same, with the negativity and things like that. So it's like, what are we spending our time doing? What are we spending our time listening to? Who are we spending our time around? All of those things are really, really important. That's the foundation of it all. Then just kind of the day-to-day, okay, this challenge, that challenge, because sometimes people don't even see it as necessarily fear, just how do I make the right choices? Because I have so much, I'm sorry, I don't have a lot of time, right? Like you said, you have children, you have all these things going on. You're like, wait, stop and write a book. Same thing with me now. I'm like, okay, I did my cookbook, I did reach, and people are like, you can do another book. And I'm just like, but if I had something to say that I really want to say, that I feel like I should invest this time into a book, a documentary or something like that. There's all these different things that I could do, or a podcast. Like people ask me now, because I had my Laila Ali lifestyle podcast years ago and I let it go. But people are like, are you going to do a podcast now? Because it's blowing up again. And I'm like, okay, do you be like, oh yeah, let me just do a podcast because I can make money? Or it's like, do I really want to do this? Do I really have something to say? What's going to be different this time than it was last time? These are the questions I have to ask. And I'm not saying that I wouldn't do one. It's just those are the thought processes that I have. I never operate from a place of scarcity, like, oh God, I got to do this to stay relevant. You know what I mean? Because trust and believe, if I could just stay home and just be a homekeeper and fold towels and cook and garden and help my kids with their homework, that's absolutely what I would do. But something in me, has this entrepreneurial spirit that drives me, right? And I want to do it all. And I believe I can do it all, and that's my life's challenge. Like I said, to find that balance, doing the thing that I love, doing the things that I love, while also taking care of the people that I love, and I know a lot of women out there can relate to that. They may not necessarily have their own business. They have a job, but they want to feel fulfilled, right? While being able to take care of their family, not losing themselves. So many women like just want to work out, want to be fit, but don't feel like they have time or energy to do it, so it really comes down to what are our priorities, right? Because we do what our priorities are. I see people all the time that say, oh, I don't have time, but then I'll see them scrolling on social media for 2 hours out the day. And I'm like, that's what you want to do. And that's what you spent your time doing when you could have, went for a walk and put on a weighted vest, yes, and went for a 30-minute walk. You could have, but it was easier to sit yes. there and scroll. So you have to check yourself and look at your day, do an audit, right? And just see, yes. okay, where is this extra time going? Because sometimes we just don't realize what our habits are.
Oh gosh, amen. So
exactly. True. And it's like, if I'm able to do it, because it's a priority, you're able to do it. Trust and believe. It's just, that's how it becomes a lifestyle. And with everything. I'm not just talking about working out. I'm talking about whether you're someone who prays, whether you're someone who meditates, whether you're someone who takes the time to meal prep every week.
Does yoga. No.
Yeah, right. See? And exactly. And I can't tell you how many years I've been saying this. Like, we're going to do another podcast in 3 years. You'll be like, Layla, did you do the yoga? I'm like, girl, I'm scared. No, I'm playing. No. Yeah. I might have to get off my butt and try it. Unless I can come up with something else. I'm like, is there another?
No, just put on, okay, mute the instructor. If you do it online, I'm thinking like mute the instructor and like the calming music and put on some of your favorite like beats. You can move slow, but then you want to, are you going to want to dance?
No, it's like, it's not the mute. I like the calm. It's just,
you like
it's just, okay. Well, I'm going to try it at home because the times I did try, it was in a class setting and I didn't love that. So I didn't love being around other people. They start sweating and sitting there. Like I may be able to do it. Yeah. Yes. And it's just one of those things like I'm telling y'all, like you got to just do it. Like, how do I know? I don't know if I'm going to like it at home because I haven't done it yet. So I have to do it. That's what I'm going to do. I promise.
Baby step. Your baby step is hop on YouTube and look for a yoga session.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Yes. In 3 years when we talk again.
Absolutely.
Laila, you emit all the things that you love and care about, like this peace, the good vibes, like you're so grounded, and yet you have so many reasons that you shouldn't be, right? In so many ways. And so I love all the advice you shared because I can see that authenticity. I can feel it, through the screen. You just emit so much joy and happiness and ambition. And I just always love chatting with you. I have 2 fun questions as we end out. That's a new tradition since you were on the show last. And number 1, that is, if you could magically declutter one thing from your life forever, no effort required, what would it be?
A couple people I can think of.
That's fair.
But let's see, declutter from my life. I would say the place that I get the most cluttered, that affects me the most mentally, and just in terms of just operations, is my office. If I could clutter the paperwork and know exactly where everything is and just have a clear desk. And I already know the rules. You're supposed to put everything away, clean your desk off before you leave the office. But I'm a little ADD. I don't know if I told you that last time. Like I actually found out like I have ADD, which I didn't know, because I went and got some brain testing at this place called the Amen Clinic from boxing. He's like, "Oh, you're ADD." I was like, "Really?" So that made a lot of sense. And I never just say, "Oh, this is how it has to be." But it at least I understood it more.
Sure.
Why I feel like, how come it's so hard for me to stay organized, right? So that's one thing I would do is, yes, just become a pro when it came to the office and all of the extra files and papers and things I don't need.
Okay. On the flip side of that coin, what is one thing in your home you'd never let go of and why? Doesn't have to be, some people say, well, my kids. Well, okay, kids and what else?
Yeah, I'm not.
Even though they'll be leaving the nest at some point, let's be real.
I would never probably let go of my family photos.
Like physical, the ones I see behind you.
Physical, there's so many more. And then I would never let go of, the artwork that my children have done over the years that I've kept. I've let go of a lot of it because, that's a whole thing too with parents. Like you can't keep everything. Like, when are you going to go through this? So I keep the best of a couple of things from every grade, every year, and I kept it in a folder. So things like that. I have letters from my father, things like that. But everything I think is connected to family, because those are the things you can't buy, you can't get back. You think about like if your house burned down, like what would you grab? Right. Yep. And those are the things, so just those family memories and things. All this other stuff you can't take any of this with you. So I'm not attached to any of it other than that.
I love that. And it's just like you said, like we all assign meaning to things, and it's great to declutter and shift our meaning we assign things so that we're able to let go and get out of that stuckness. But you can't, it's a human nature to assign meaning and stories to things. And I think that benefits us when it's stuff that truly is curated in a way that helps us live our lives, remember our loved ones, enjoy time with our loved ones, like be happy, spark that memory, all these different things. I think that's really, really beautiful of you.
Yep. Yeah. But as long as they're things that make you feel good,
that's
because a lot of times people hold on to things because they feel like they have to, because this reason or
Guilt.
that reason. Yeah, the guilt and all that. And that I don't love that one for people, but things that you love and that make you happy, I think this are the best things to keep.
So true. Well, Laila Ali, thanks for coming back on the show. Congrats on the success of your new show. It's so good. I hope all my listeners tune into it. It's just fun to watch you up there too. And like the setting and it's just so cool. Like I geek out over
fun.
it. So
it's fun. Yeah. It's a good primetime show, and the evening when people are winding down and, there's grudges, but they're not, it's fun. It's happy spirited. It's not like, because I've seen some people like, oh, I don't want to see, anger on the Food Network. It's like, it's not anger. Like it's all in fun. Everyone leaves with a smile on their face. So
that's right. That's right. Laila, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you so much. And all the best to you all at home.